Welcome to Google Forms in the Classroom, presented by the Technology Training Team, also known as T3. On this first slide, you can see at the top left corner our remote teaching site, bit.ly/PGCPS remote teaching. And you can also find us at T3PGCPS on Twitter. So before you join the meeting, please ensure that your mic stays muted. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a panel, and if the microphone, which is the first icon, is illuminated red, then that means you are muted. And please make sure that it stays illuminated red and you stay muted for the duration of the webinar. We will have the chat open, so feel free to post your questions in the chat and we will answer them accordingly. You will also see a camera icon right next to the microphone, and that please have that illuminated red as well. We understand that you all are amazing and look amazing this morning, but it sometimes can cause a distraction during the webinar if cameras are on, so we ask that you turn off your camera at this time. Thank you. And the next another icon you will see is a little person, and that is so you can view participants, and it will allow you to see everyone that is currently in the webinar. Following the little person is a text bubble. It looks like a text message bubble, but that actually is for our chat. And if you click on that, that will give you the space to put your questions in the chat area for us to answer throughout the webinar. Finally, when the webinar is complete, there is an X, and you click on that X and you will be able to exit WebEx. Just so you know, this session is being recorded. Thank you, and that is another reason why we ask that you remain muted. To make sure you are marked attended for this session, please fill out the form. If you is bit.ly/missing attendance. And it's also in the chat at this time. All right, once again, this is Forms in the Classroom, and we're excited to have you here today. Meet your facilitators. You have 3 fabulous T3 facilitators with you here today. We have Marianne Santos, who is currently moving through the slides for us, and she will be presenting in a few moments. Myself, Ashana Wongwing, and Monica Jenkins. And Monica Jenkins will be holding it down in the chat for us today and responding to any of your questions. So thank you, Monica, and thank you, Marianne. All right, so before we jump into forms, just a little quick G Suite overview, which is Google Suite for Education. Many of you know Google Drive. Google Drive is where we store our files. We can create different files within Google Drive, and we can share files with our colleagues. And I love this. I love that Google, when we say Google Drive is like your file cabinet. Everyone has a file cabinet in their office or their classroom, and now we have a virtual file cabinet, which is Google Drive. We have Google Classroom, which all of you are using to share work with your students. Docs is word processing, so it's similar to Microsoft Word. Slides, which we use to present material, which we're currently using right now, and that is similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. And finally, Forms, which was used to create surveys and quizzes to collect information. On our agenda today, we're going to talk about, well, what is Google Forms? Then we will model a few example uses of Google Forms. Next, we will go into accessing Google Forms. How can you access it? Through Drive in Classroom. Then Marianne will take us through a Google Forms demo, and she will discuss the text bar, settings, features, and the different question types. You will also have an opportunity to see how Google Forms can be used as a quiz. And finally, we will share some resources for you to use moving forward. What is Google Forms? Google Forms is a tool. It allows you to collect information or data from your users, all right? So you can use this as a survey or a quiz. Many schools use it to survey parents, or sometimes teachers are surveyed with it, or give quizzes to their students. Google Form is integrated with all of the other G Suite for Education apps, the ones that we discussed a few moments ago. And it's also within Google Classroom. Now we're going to get ready to, there is this link at the top of the screen will be posted in the chat, and Marianne is going to take us through a short demonstration of a few quizzes. As you can see, these quizzes are organized in instruction, management, and organization. So I will now hand the mic over to Marianne.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much, Ashana, and thank you everyone for joining us today. As you saw, Ashana just gave an overview of Google Forms, and I'll be showing you different examples and demoing how to create a quiz on Google Forms. As you can see here, you can see that Google Forms we've divided in 3 different uses. So there's instruction, management, and organization. I have shared in the chat the link for you to take a look at these on your own time. I will only be going through just a few of these because of time, and also, excuse me, and the focus I'll be looking at is making quizzes on Google Forms. So some quiz examples here. This one called All About Maryland is perfect for upper grade. If I click on it, you can see here, it says using Google Forms as a quiz. And this one's asking for my email address. And put that in, click next. And you can see here that there is a short text box for me to put my first and last name. There is a YouTube video for me to watch along with directions from the teacher. If you notice here, there's nothing for me to actually input, it's just for me to watch. There is a multiple choice question here, and you know it's multiple choice. See the circle radio button. So what is Maryland state bird? So I'll just say Oriole. And then if I go down, instead of a multiple choice, you'll see here is a question and an image. And in order for me to answer, I have a drop down box. So maybe if I think it's the Nata Coke. And here's another option where you can give questions to your students where you have a question. And again, this one's multiple choice, but the difference here is that there are images attached to each choice. So maybe I say, what is the Maryland tree? Maybe it's the palm tree. I'm just going to put that in as an example. You can even include your own text that doesn't require any students to put in any answers or information. If you are doing a reading passage, you could put that in here as well. And again, here's another drop down, 6. And then another one says, what are your views on environmental issues in Maryland? And this one is more of a longer text, so I'll say, I think it's awesome. I have the option to go back because I have different parts and sections to this Google form, but if I think I'm done, I'll click submit. Because this form is a quiz, I could see here it says that my response has been recorded and this is completely customizable. And then here is a button for view score. You can have this on or off, and I'll be showing that in the demo as well, where as soon as they finish, they can view their score and it automatically grades it for me. So I was correct and I got instant feedback for being correct, and the teacher put wonderful. And I could see here I have 20 out of 20 points. On the next question, it says, what is the body of water shared in Maryland and Virginia? I got that one wrong, so I got 0 points out of 20. And it told me what the correct answer is, Chesapeake Bay. And they gave me feedback because my answer is wrong. So the teacher said, please read the article again. And they even gave me a link to look at to have a better understanding. So again, this one is called instant feedback. Scrolling down again. Here I chose palm tree, but the correct answer is white oak. And if you notice, there's no instant feedback provided here. Giving instant feedback is completely optional. Coming down here, it says how many candidates showed up for the forum. I said 6, but the answer is 8. And again, there's no instant feedback here except that what is correct and what is wrong. Then the last question, because it is a large piece of text, the teacher has to go in and grade this themselves, and you notice that there are no points attached to this. So you would have to go in afterwards and then grade this part yourself. So this is just an example overview of how it would look like if you made a quiz for students and the different answer options. Another example that I'm going to show you is more appropriate for younger students. This one is called the Very Hungry Caterpillar Quiz. I've always taught in the primary grade, so this is like my favorite thing. And of course, The Very Hungry Caterpillar is one of my favorite books. Again, it's asking for email address, but there is an option where it will automatically collect it so the students don't have to type this in. There's also an option to put in a name, which is a text box. Again, the teacher puts in a question and embeds a video, says watch the video of the hungry caterpillar, then answer the questions. And then here, you can see which food did the caterpillar not eat. Now the difference between this one is that notice that these are boxes. Boxes are also called check boxes, and you can have more than one answer. If they are circle round buttons, that means you can only have one choice. With check boxes, I can choose here carrots, I think it's apples, strawberries, and bananas. So I chose all of them, even though I know this is not the correct answer. Then another option question is, what was the setting of the story? Notice here that these are circle radio buttons. That means I only have one choice. So I'm going to choose a leaf. Then I can scroll down here. What was your favorite part of the story? Even though this could be a longer piece of text, you could still award points for your students, but you still need to score it yourself, which I'll show in just a moment. And I'll say everything is my favorite part. When I'm done, I'll click submit. And here, you can see I could view my score, and I could submit another response. So let's take a look at view score. So here I have a total points of 33 out of 100. When I scroll down here, it says that the correct answer was carrots, and I got all the other ones wrong. So I have 0 out of 33. As a teacher, I can go back and adjust this, where maybe instead of 33 points, I should give them some credit. I can change it to only a quarter of it, since there were 4 options. Again, I have instant feedback where it says watch the video again, and it gave me a YouTube link to watch the video again. When I scroll down, I got this one correct, and the teacher gave me feedback saying wonderful. And here it says it's marked as wrong, but notice here it says ... out of 34. That means the teacher needs to go back in and grade that. So this is really an incomplete grade until the teacher can go back and grade it. So those are 2 examples that I've shown for quizzes: the All About Maryland, which is more appropriate for upper grades, and the Very Hungry Caterpillar, more appropriate for younger grades. And if you notice, the difference as well is that there are more images for the Very Hungry Caterpillar, especially for our low readers. There's other examples of exit tickets and goal setting form, but because of time, we're gonna you can look at that on your own. But also here under management, I'm just gonna show one example that might be useful for you, since we are teaching from home, and if you wanted to get information from your parents. So here is parent information form. Go ahead and click that. I have an option to choose a name, a grade level. The parent can put in their first and last name, just putting a random name. The parent can put in their email address so they know how to contact. And this one's a good option to use when using with parents, that there is a grid where they can fill in, like, so for field trips, how are likely they participate in the following activities. So field trips, not likely, depends on the time, very likely. For classroom projects, and the same thing for after school evening. So maybe I'm not available. And then there's a long text box to share any information regarding any needs or concerns that you have. And the parent can just type in whatever they like here. And if you notice here that there is no red asterisks on any of them, which means it's not required. So there are, the parent could skip a certain part of this form and still submit it. If you don't want to make sure that no one skips it, then you make sure that it's required, which I will show in the demo as well. So then I'll click submit. Oops, see again, see this is required. I could not submit it. Submit. And you can give the option to submit another response. So here, G Kirby, I saw that you sent me a message. If you're putting in the chat, because I am demoing, it's hard for me to see both the chat and the screen at the same time. Could you make sure you put it to everyone? And yes, I'll be showing how to insert a picture and image on Google Forms, not on Google Slides. Okay. Again, here, provided the link in the chat for you to look at all the other examples on your own time. Now, how to get to Google Form. There are different ways to get to it. One way we're going to show is from your email, and the other way is from Google Classroom. So here we put step-by-step directions and included screenshots for you so that you know how to navigate through. Excuse me. So here you can go to your email, click on the apps launcher, which looks like the 9 boxes in the shape of a box. Choose Drive, which is the triangle. Click on New, which is the plus sign. Go to More. Then you'll see Google Forms. Then there will be an option to select a blank form. The other option is to go through Google Classroom, where it'll automatically attach and make the form in quiz mode for you automatically. So here I'm going to show you how to do that. So here, go into my mail. And on the top right, you'll see the apps launcher. Depending on how you organize it, it may be in a different order, but you'll see here I have at the top Drive. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And on the top left, you see New. And then I'll go down to More, Google Forms, and here I'll do blank form. As a default, this is what every brand new Google form will look like. And to show from Classroom, you can either go to your classroom, go to classwork, click create, and go to quiz assignment. When you click on it, it will automatically generate a Google form for you, and it will be automatically put into quiz mode for you, so you don't have to go into the settings to make those changes. So again, one way is coming from your Drive and starting from scratch, a Google form. And the other way is to create a quiz through Google Form in Google Classroom. So here, I'm going to close out of this and then show from the one from Drive. So the difference between the two is that one is automatically in quiz mode, but maybe also that if you wanted more time to think about your form and all the different parts that you want into it, I personally prefer to go through Drive because I always have different purposes for my my quizzes, and sometimes, not my quizzes, my Google Forms, and sometimes I'm sharing it with staff, sometimes I'm sharing it with students, sometimes I'm sharing it with parents. So putting in Google Classroom is not always my need. But if I'm using it with students, Google Classroom will be the best, and if I'm also doing it in quiz mode. But I can also show you here how to turn this form from Drive in quiz mode. So here are the different parts of my form. You can see here at the top left, it says Untitled Form, and I can rechange this into Harry Potter Trivia. And then when I click out of it, you'll see here, it automatically changed to the title that I put in. I also have the option to do form description, where I can put my own description in here, but I don't have any use for that, so you could just leave it blank. There's no need to fill it in, and you won't see this message form description when the students see the form. So if you leave it blank, it will not show up. Now the next part of the forms you'll see on the top right are different icons. to help customize and change the settings of your form. The first one is a puzzle piece called add-ons. This is an advanced feature that, just like Google Docs and Google Slides, that helps increase the productivity of your Google form. We will not be going into this, but you can look at add-ons on your own time. But these are some things that are helpful once you got in the hang of using Google Forms. The next part is a paint palette called Customize Theme. When I click on it, I have the option to change the look of my form. I can choose an image header, and some of these images look very familiar to Google Classroom headers. So because I'm doing Harry Potter and it has to do with books, I'll choose this book one and insert. Because this one's an automatic theme that's created through Google, it will change the colors according to that theme, which is still taking a moment to load. While I'm letting that load, you can also change the colors. The theme that I've chosen is going to turn this brown, but maybe I don't like brown, I want to use orange instead. I can do that. And I can also change the background color. So the theme and then background color, so I could change here. But if I still want something else, I can do this grayish white. And then I can also edit the, excuse me, the font. I always keep it at basic because it's just a lot easier to read for my students. I'm not sure why, I guess my computer connection is kind of off today, but you have the option to do the header. The next part is called preview. This is where you could see what your form looks like when you send it to your students or to your parents. So here this is in edit mode, but if I click preview, it opens in a new tab and shows me what they will see. They'll see that their email will be collected, so I don't need to put that option in. They'll see an untitled question, and I have option 1. And I also have where they can have a copy of their response and submit. To close out of this, just close that tab, and you can be back into your forms, excuse me, in edit mode. The next part is the gear settings. There are 3 parts to your settings: general, presentation, and quizzes. General is just how you want it to be collected, how you want your students to access it. And because you're going to be using this in Google Classroom, keeping collect email addresses and restrict to users in PGCPS is already defaulted. So if I were you, just keep that there. Also, you can limit to 1 response, where they can only respond once because their email is collected and attached to it. And if they wanted to do it again, they can't unless I turn this off. You can also have them an option to go in and edit whatever they submitted. And there's option to see summary charts and text responses, but I highly recommend keeping this off because sometimes I want to keep the information anonymous. So I keep this off. The next part is presentation, where it will show a progress bar. You can shuffle the order of the questions, and you can show a link to submit another response. So if I only wanted them to do 1 response here, they won't have the option to submit another one. And here is where you can customize your message once they submitted it. So great, check your score soon. And then here's the last tab, quizzes. Because I made this form straight from Google Drive, I need to turn on make a quiz if I'm trying to make this as a quiz. There's an option to lock the Chromebooks, but because our students are at home and using various devices, we can't necessarily control that, so keep this off. This is only useful if we're all using Chromebooks and we're all together. The next part is release grade, where just like in the examples that I showed you, I was able to see my score immediately. So I can do that where they can get their score immediately, or later on after I've taken a look at everything and excuse me, after I've taken a look at everything, and then I can release the score to them once I'm ready to share it with them. Or I can also give an option where they could see missed questions, they can see their correct answers, and they could see the point values. I'm just going to keep everything the way it is. And then click save. The next button is called send, where once you are finished, if you are sharing this with your parents, you can email it directly to them, or you can copy and paste the link, or if you have a website, you can embed it as well if you're really into HTML. So those are the 3 options to share with other people. The last thing you could do to customize and make any changes settings to your forms is the 3 dots. You can undo, kind of like Control Z, make a copy of this entire form if you wanted to do multiple copies and then change it up without changing your original. Delete it completely, get a pre-filled link, meaning all the answer options are already filled in. If you know the same answer is going to be something particular, like the date that you want your participants to fill out, you have that option. You can print the entire form. And here, add collaborators is a good one to know. It's just like in Google Docs and Google Slides where you are sharing a document with someone and they have editing rights. That's what add collaborators is. So here you'll see this window similar to the share window, and I can give other people editing rights. So for example, Monica and Ashana, I can give them rights to edit this form. Notice here, the only option is can edit because this is a Google form. It's not like Google Docs or Google Slides. Then I can click send so that they have access to edit the form. Not to view the form and answer it, but to edit. Again, it's the 3 dots, add collaborators. The next 2 is script editor and add-ons. This is where you will get your add-ons. And once you've installed them, it will be up here in the puzzle. And the last one is preferences, kind of like your defaulted settings that I want to make sure my form collects all email addresses. And if I'm in quiz mode, make all the questions required and default a point value. So instead of me typing in 1 point for everything, it will automatically make it 1 point, but I can still go in and change it. So that's a lot of information that I shared all about these icons on the top right. But in the presentation, I have given you some screenshots and labels to help you understand the different parts of forms. And also a recording will be posted on the, on the remote teaching site eventually, hopefully by the weekend. So here I'm going to go back to my form, explain all the different parts up here, and now I'm going to go in and actually make my quiz. So the very first one is defaulted untitled question. So I click on it. This is where I can edit it. So here I'm going to do a multiple choice. Who is the author of the Harry Potter series? And it's already defaulted at multiple choice, but you can see here, if I click on it, I can change the type of question that I want. Then here, I can put my answer options. So I could say J.K. Rowling, Dr. Seuss, add another option, Shakespeare, add another option, Dan Gutman. So I have my answer options here. I can have as much options as I want. 4 is about a good number. And also you can have the option to add other where the students can actually put in their own response if they don't agree with any of these. Because I only want them to choose between the 4, I'm going to keep this off. Now, as you can see, when I move my mouse around, different things, settings and features will show up. Here, when I move my mouse, I can insert an image that's just for the question. And down, if I move my mouse here, I can insert an image just for the answer choice. I don't have any images for my question, but I do want to put images for my answer choice. So I have here J.K. Rowling, and I'll click on the image. And you can upload from your computer. I already have my photos in my drive. So I'll go to Google Drive, and I have my folder. So here's J.K. Rowling. And before I insert this, you can also take a picture on the fly with your camera, copy and paste a URL if you have the address to it, or have your own Google Photos or do an image search yourself. So here I'm going to click J.K. Rowling and click insert. And take a moment and it's going to insert the image for me. I also want to put in for Dr. Seuss. Insert. Takes Takes a moment to load. Next one, Shakespeare. It's hiding over in this corner. And the last one, Dan Gutman. So these are my answer choices, and I've attached an image to it. If I realize that there's something I made a mistake, I can click on the X for the image to remove it, or an X for the answer option. I like everything the way it is, and now I want to make another question. You'll see here at the bottom, I'll have answer key, which is what I'll explain after I put in all my questions. I can also make a copy of this so that I don't have to restart all over again. I can delete this entire question, turn on and off required, and then there's additional features as well that are more advanced that you can look in your own time. So here I want to make another question without having to start from scratch. I can click duplicate. Here again I see it's an exact copy, but this time I want to change it. I want to remove my pictures. And instead my question is, which of the following are characteristics of a person in Gryffindor? Let me fix this. Oops, there we go. And this time, instead of multiple choice, there are multiple characteristics. I want to change this to checkboxes. Notice here it turns the circles into squares, and I can change each option: loyal, wise, brave, patient, and I want to add one more: power hungry. So now I have all these answer choices. And I want to insert, and I realize that I do want to insert a video for the students to watch. You'll notice here on the right, this toolbar follows me wherever I go, so that wherever I'm on the form, I can include things. The plus sign means to add question. The paper with an arrow means import question. So if you created a Google form before and you created a question there that you want to reuse again, you can import from another form and have it put into this form. That's what import question is. The next part is to add a title and description. So you can divide your questions according by content, topic, or if you just want to put in a little disclaimer in between or put a big piece of text for the students to read, you can insert that. The next part is add an image. If you just want to add an image between questions, there's no actual kind of information you want the students to respond to, or you can add a video. So adding an image and adding a video are very similar, except with video, it can only be a YouTube video. So here I'm going to insert a video, and I already have the URL ready. I'm going to paste that, and I'll click select. Move down here, give it a title. Watch this video summary on Harry Potter. With the video embedded here, there will be 3 dots, and I have the option to change the alignment, change the video altogether, or completely remove it. I like my video, and I want it to be center aligned. I like everything centered. Now I realized that I wanted the students to watch this video first, but it's at the bottom of my form. Whenever on any question, you'll see these 6 dots together. That means you can click on it and drag it wherever you want. So here, if I move my mouse, it's a pointer, but if I move my mouse back, you'll see the crossing arrows. This is where I can drag and drop it where I want. I'll click on it, and then I'll drag it all the way to the top to reorganize. When I let go, it will stay where I left it. So now I have my YouTube video, my multiple choice question, and my checkbox question. I want to put in 2 more questions. So now I'm here, add a question or duplicate. And this time I want it to be a short answer. Who is the main character? Instead of me giving my students choices, I can also make it a short answer. Now with short with short answer, and then I want to put one more question, and it says here, write an analysis of a key character in Harry Potter series. Describe 2 to 3 actions of the character or how the character responds to events. Okay. Now, as I was typing, Google likes to think for me, and if you notice that it no longer says multiple choice, it says paragraph. So it tries to think about what I'm putting in here because there's certain words, keywords that Google is looking at, and it automatically changes to paragraph, which is what I wanted. But if it does pick something that you don't want, you can always change it to a different question type. So here, I want paragraph. Now that I am all done putting in all of my questions, images, and videos, this is the best time to go in with your answer key. Even though you can do it as you do each question, it's always best to do it in the at the end so that you can make sure that you didn't miss anything. So here, in this multiple choice question, I want to tell Google Forms what the correct answer is. I'm going to click on it. I'll see the option answer key. If you do not see this option, it is because you did not turn on in settings quiz mode to make this a quiz. This needs to be turned on in order for you to see this option answer key. I'm going to click answer key, and it's going to jump me to the top, and it will ask me if I want to keep it as 1 point or how many points I want. It's already defaulted at 1, and that's what I want. Now I need to choose my correct answer, which is this one, and you'll notice it turns into a green check. When I scroll down, in answer key mode, you'll see an option that says add answer feedback. This is where you can give instant feedback based on their responses. If they have an incorrect answer, I'll say, oops, that's not quite right. And I can even include a website link or a YouTube video to give them like, oh, watch this video again so that you know who the author is, or however you want. This is completely optional. Or if they got it correct, I'm like, yay, you are paying attention. And I can even include a website or a YouTube video to help further extend their learning or however I want. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. So you can see here that I gave feedback if their answer was correct and feedback if their answer was incorrect. I have the option to go in and edit it and change it, or I can delete it altogether. I am now done with this question, so I'll click done. Then when I scroll down to the next question, click on it, answer key. It's asking how many points. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options here, so I'm going to change this to 5. And I know that the answer is loyal and brave. See here, I have more than one answer, correct answer, versus multiple choice. I only have one correct answer. I can also give feedback based on their responses, incorrect versus correct, include a link or a YouTube video, and click save. I don't want to give any feedback, so I'll just leave it as that, and click done. The next part is short answer. This can have something that's automatically graded, only short answer. As you can see here, I'll click answer key, and this one's slightly different from multiple choice and check boxes. I'm going to change this here to 2 points, and I can type in all the possible correct answers that I will accept for my students. So the answer is Harry Potter. But sometimes students might just write Harry, and I'll accept that. So I'm typing in what I will accept as a correct answer. Another one could be Potter. Another one could be HP. I will accept these correct answers. If they have a misspelling, then it will be graded wrong. I can also have it automatically mark it Anything that's not these options I gave will be marked as incorrect. And I can also still, again, give instant answer feedback. So here you can make an automatic where it will compare to their responses, and these are all the possible answers I am accepting. Then I'll click done. Now the last one is paragraph. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can read it for us and grade it for us. You have to go in yourself and grade it, but you can also still give points. Notice how it's not giving, asking what the correct answer could be, because this is a paragraph form. And because I'm using a rubric, I might want to do it out of 4 points or however many points you want. This is where you will go in after they have completed the form and you can give them the appropriate grade. So I'm done. I'll click done. Okay, so I just talked about the different ways to insert questions in a quiz, insert a video, inserting questions and reorganizing your questions. And I'm ready to share this with my students. So if you already created this quiz from quiz assignment and you're already done, it automatically saves it. Then you can fill in your details and assign it to your students. If you went through Google Drive, you will go to create and click assignment. Put in your details. Complete the Google form. And here, because I made this in Drive and not through Google Classroom, I'll click add and I'll choose Google Drive. And again, Google likes to think for me, make things easier. It has recent automatically, and it was the last thing I worked on. So I'll click on Harry Potter trivia and click add. I'm gonna give it a moment. Now, this is the most important thing before assigning students. Down here it says grade importing, okay? We already have to take our grades from Google Classroom and put it into SchoolMax. Well, who wants to take their grades from Google Forms to Google Classroom to SchoolMax? No one. So instead, I'll click grade importing, where it will take all of the grades from Google Forms and put it into Google Classroom for me. So I only have one place to look at for all of my grades. So make sure this is turned on. Also, the option here to turn on locked mode in Chromebooks. Again, we're keeping this off because we are not using the, because students are at home using different devices. This will not work if they're using a different device that's not a Chromebook. I will put in all my other details, due date, topic, and I will click assign. Now that I've submitted to my students, I'm just gonna wait for them to make sure they click that turn in button when they complete their form. And now it's time for me to grade. So here I have a form that I've already created and 4 of my students have completed it. In order for me to check their grades, I will go to the actual form. And it shows me what it looks like for the students. But because I'm the creator of this form or a collaborator of this form, you'll see on the bottom right a pencil. If you do not see this, it's either you're not signed in to your correct account or you are not the editor or collaborator of this form. So make sure you click on that pencil and it takes you back to that familiar editing page for Google Forms. Now, at the top, we've been in question mode, but now there's a tab called responses, and the number next to it shows me how many people have responded. So I'll click responses. And here you'll see responses have 3 sections: summary, question, and individual. Summary is where Google will take all the information and put it in based on the types of questions that you have into data so that you could see automatically what are the average points for my students. The frequently missed question was which of the following characteristics of a person in Gryffindor? Only 0 of my 4 students got it correct. I could see the scores that have been graded and if they were when they were released. All of my students chose J.K. Rowling for the first question. and on. It shows you a lot of different data. Sometimes it might be a bar graph, sometimes it might be a pie graph. So it's different depending on the types of questions that you put in there, and Google makes that for you. The next part is question. Here you can look at each individual question and see how they responded to each question. So this is the first question, and all 4 responses said J.K. Rowling. If I click on this arrow, it will show me the second one. It says, who is the main character? 3 responses said Harry Potter. 1 response said Voldemort. And then I can keep on going and also see how they did for each question. My favorite part is called individual. This will show me how each individual student responded. So I have here I can choose here which student I want to look at. So in this case, I'll look at Maisha. And I'll scroll down and I'll see here, she got the first one correct and it automatically got 2 points. The second one, she got correct and got 2 points. But here, you'll see that she chose loyal, wise, and brave, but it gave her 0 points. I still want to give her credit for answering these 2. So I can change this to 2 points. And I have to go back and change the total points in another part, but I want to give her 2 points for having credit at least for those 2. And if I gave individual instant feedback, I can still go back in and give individual feedback right then and here after they've completed it. And then I will show you that you will have to release it back to them so they can see your feedback. And I was like, great job here. But remember, Ravenclaw is known for being wise. And I'll click save. So here's my individual feedback after it's been graded. So I can go in and put that in myself. And if you have a collaborator, they can go ahead and put in their own feedback for if there's an ESOL teacher or special ed teacher that's working with you, your co-teacher, they can give individual feedback as well. And the last one, if you do have a long paragraph, you do need to read it and score it yourself. Notice how there is no score here. So she said, Hermione is a very wise girl. Upon meeting Ron and Harry, she was able to give them background information on the school. She also studied very hard to perfect her spells. I think this is a pretty decent response, so maybe I'll give them a 4. Do remember that if you make any changes, you'll see at the bottom it says edits are pending. Once I've done going through for one student, I will click save. Then it brings me back up to the top. You'll also see here the button release score. So I'm going to click release score, and because I only worked on Maisha's quiz, then I can only release it to her. But if I finished everyone and I've saved it, I can click on all the students that I've worked on. But because I've only done Maisha, I can go ahead and click on Maisha and click send emails and release. They will get an email to see their feedback and their new score, but instead, excuse me, but instead they can just go straight to the form, and because you gave them 1 response, they can see their new score. They'll see that button view score at the end. So now that I've released the score, there's 1 more step I need to do. I will go back into Classroom, and because I've already done this form, I need to go to a different one. Show as another example. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. So where they turned in. And once the students are done and you've updated their scores as needed, you'll see here on the button, a button on the right side, it says import grades. So it will take all the grades from Google Forms and populate it here. Notice how it's automatically defaulted at 100 points. So watch that. So when I click import grades, now no one has done anything, so of course they're going to get 0. But if I click import grades, it's going to ask you, are you sure? So I'll click import. Give that a moment. And now you notice now it says out of 12 because it's taking what their grades were currently right now. And it will give me 0 out of 12 because none of them answered. But after they've completed it, and any changes that I make, I have to import again to override the old grades. If there is a grade that's in the Google form that you don't want, you will have to go in yourself and put the grade in and override that yourself. So again, once the students have completed the form, you've gone in and reviewed their answers and made sure there's no mistakes on it, or if you wanted to give them more points or less points based on their responses, make sure you go in and click import grades, so it will populate here. Okay, so again, going back on the presentation, everything here is what I've discussed and demoed for you. As a reminder, we've also listed all the question types, and anything with an asterisk means it can be graded, automatically graded for you. I've included step-by-step directions and a video showing how to insert a video or an image. Just a reminder, there is no sound on these videos. We talked about the settings for quizzes, settings for general, settings for presentation. It's all in this presentation. Again, step-by-step directions and a video on how to do the answer key and add answer feedback. Step-by-step directions and a video on adding a quiz in Google Classroom. We talked about the 3 types of responses. And the last one I didn't talk about into detail was export to sheets, because Google Forms has completely changed so much over the past few years that it's a lot easier for teachers when it comes to quizzes and grading and looking at responses, but you still have the option to do export sheets. And I did see someone say in the comment, no need for Flubaroo. So if you were using Google Forms back in the day, you did have to use spreadsheets and use an add-on called Flubaroo. So we don't have to do that anymore, but you can use spreadsheets for different purposes. Again, step-by-step directions and a video on grading, giving feedback, releasing the score, and importing the grades. And also to show you that there are some ready-made templates that Google have created. You can go through your email, go to the apps launcher, and you can actually click on the button that says Google Forms instead of Drive. So this is a third way to get to Forms. So I'll show here. Where did my email go? Mail. A moment to load. I have a lot of email. Apps launcher, and I can scroll, and I'll see here there's Forms. So this is another way, faster way to get to it. I prefer from Drive because it's the only thing organized in my life. I have folders and folders and folders, so I organize everything there. Then you'll see here template gallery. So if I click that, it's going to expand and show me templates that's already made, ready for you to use and edit and customize any way you want. These are education related ones here, personal related forms, work related forms, and customer feedback. So these are already made templates that you can edit and customize the way you want, so you don't have to start from scratch. So again, it's template gallery from Forms. And we've also included a quick link as long as you're signed in. Then, if you feel like you've got a handle on Google Forms, we have some advanced uses that you could try out on your own, dividing the form into sections. Try to use branching, do data validation, or you can have your students create their own Google form, share that with their classmates, and they can learn how to collect and analyze data. So this is some advanced ways of using forms. We also have a list of resources. These are also made available on the remote teaching site. Again, the remote teaching site itself, First Days with Google Form, Google Form support page, and EDU in 90 is a YouTube channel through Google that explains different types of Google G Suite tools and applications in 90 seconds or less. Who doesn't like that? And again, if you realize that your name is not showing here, please make sure you fill out the missing attendance form. This form is also on a remote teaching site. And this is our contact information. And I know I've been talking a lot, and I know Monica and Shauna have been doing great on the chat. Is there anything I should address again or need to explain on Google Forms? And here for any questions that anyone has. I do apologize, I'm not able to look at the chat and the screen at the same time, but now I'm available to see it. So to answer to, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Eric Perry. To understand and organize Google Drive. So we had a training on Google Docs. I believe there's one more today, 3 o'clock this afternoon, that does talk more about Drive. Our training this afternoon at 3, but I do believe there's another one on Tuesday, but I always look back on the remote teaching site on that. And no video sounds. If you're referring to my tutorials, I had issues with my microphone when I was doing this. So, but you can always watch this over and over again. And then follow, I put step-by-step directions here on the right side. I do apologize. My microphone wasn't working when I was doing this. And yeah. Oh, okay. So video sounds on Google Forms. So if you had a YouTube video, remember again, Google Forms only allows YouTube video. You can't, I know some of you are using Screencastify, but you can't embed a Screencastify video unless you upload it to YouTube. So if I click play here, you should be able to hear the video, and it plays right on the form.
Here's everything you need.
So I'll pause that for a moment. So they should be able to hear it as long as their volume is up and on, and they can click play. Is there a way to split our screen so that we can go to whatever is being taught and try it out ourselves simultaneously in the webinar? So yes, there is. It's depending on what kind of screens you have. So of course, the smaller your screen, the smaller the stuff is going to be. I currently have 2 computer monitors at the same time, so I can do this WebEx and at the same time see your chat, because of course you see my screen, but you don't see chat. But I'm using a Mac here. When you see the green circle on the top left, I have here tile window left or tile window right. So I'm going to click here left, and notice how it changes my entire screen. Where I split, here's on my left, and here's one on my right. So that's a way to split your screen. Let me get out of that for a moment.
Marianne, this is Monica. You could also, if you're trying to manipulate the platform as well as listen to the WebEx, you could just open up another browser window so that you, and just kind of resize your windows so that you can see both forms open and the webinar at the same time.
Yeah, so I'll show that also here, how I have 2 windows open at the same time. And if I put my mouse on the corner and drag it, I can make this one smaller, and then I can put the other one and move it to the other side of my screen. So here my mouse is on the right, and I can drag it however big or however small. Make sure that it's not in full screen. Full screen is where you're unable to resize it. The bit.ly for attendance is for if you notice that your name is not showing up on the participant list here on WebEx, in order for us to know who you are. So for example, you are showing up as owner. Unless that's your name, we won't know who you really are, so that we can mark your attendance in my PPS. You can complete the missing attendance that Monica just posted in the chat, so that we can make sure we can mark your attendance in my PPS. Again, thank you all for joining us today. All of our information is on the remote teaching site. We'll just stay on for a few more minutes if anyone still has any questions. But you can find all of the information that we just shared on the remote teaching site under Connect with Students, and go to Google Drive Tools. And you'll scroll down to the bottom where you'll see Forms, the presentation that I just shared, along with resource links on the right side. And if you don't have any questions, you are more than welcome to go ahead and click that red X to leave WebEx. And everyone have a good Friday, and hopefully this rain will go away.